Hi guys, in this video I am going to explain what redwood settings mean for EDB Postgres and how it changes the behavior of PostgreSQL, the EDB version of PostgreSQL. So this redwood setting is only applied to EDB PostgreSQL. So if you are using open source PostgreSQL, then you don't have to worry at all. But you are more than welcome to watch the rest of the video to understand what this redwood setting means. So if you do not know what EDB Postgres means, then you probably need to do some research first and then watch this video. In this server, I have installed EDB Advanced Server, which is their PostgreSQL version. And I'm going to check for Postgres configuration file and specifically search for redwood setting. Okay, so I got some bunch of settings related to set redwood, and you can see this word called redwood appearing in each of the settings and starts with EDB_redwood, which means this is only applied to EDB and it's a proprietary settings. And also you can see the DB dialect is set to redwood. So before we understand what redwood exactly means, I'm going to show you one example that works on open source Postgres and it doesn't exactly work on EDB version of Postgres, which has this redwood setting on. Okay, now I'm in the same server which has EDB Postgres installed, and I'm logged into the Postgres instance. Now I'm going to execute. Okay, I'll show you first what is the version of this. So you can see the Postgres version is PostgreSQL 12.8, which is the open source, the compatibility engine. And also within bracket it says Enterprise DB Advanced Server, and it has the same version, and there's a minor version called 12. If I want to execute this command, select date range, and I'm going to select the date range between these two dates, and it's basically the date value, and let's see what it says. Basically it says this is a syntax error. No function matches the given name and argument types. You might need to add explicit typecasts. But if you execute the same thing on this Postgres, I mean open source Postgres, this definitely works and it gives you the results. And I'll show you. Even we can make this EDB Postgres in order to work this statement. So we will go and now change this configuration file. And let's select DB dialect. And you can see there's a DB dialect which I showed you earlier. And it says the redwood, the description means sys pg catalog, Postgres means pg catalog, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to Postgres and save the file. And here I'm going to restart the service. This is the service. It's restarted. Now we'll check the same setting since we restarted the server. Show DB dialect. Yeah. Now this is set to Postgres. Now we'll run the same command, date range again. Okay, still it errors out. Let's check one more setting, EDB redwood date. Okay, it says on. Let's make it false for this session. Off. Sorry, we need to get rid of show command here. Set I will check this again. It is off. Now we'll do the date range. Right, now it works. Now what really has happened now, even though so we can, so let's do one more thing. Dialect, let's take that back to Redwood again. And do a restart. Then let's quit here. Again, show DB dialect. Now run the date range again. Yep. So what really needs is, there are two settings needed change. One is DB dialect to Postgres, and also the other one called EDB Redwood date. We need to make it off. Then only this particular command works. But these are just tweakings, you know, after you install Postgres with Redwood compatibility mode, these errors will pop up because certain behavior or certain commands basically will not work as it is working on open source Postgres. So what you really need to do is, when installing EDB Postgres, when initializing the cluster, at that time you need to make that decision whether you need to go with Redwood compatibility or you want to go with Postgres compatibility. I will show you that in EDB documentation how they have specified. Basically, Redwood compatibility means Oracle compatibility. So their EDB version of Postgres is by default make it for Oracle compatible, not Postgres compatible. That is the main point you need to remember. Once you initialize the cluster, you cannot go back and change these settings. In this case it worked for this command, but it is not the way that you need to do in production servers. So production servers, if you don't want Oracle compatibility, you need to keep EDB version as exactly matching for open source Postgres behavior. Then you need to go with non-Redwood mode, which is open source Postgres mode. I will show you that in the documentation in a second. Okay, this is EDB documentation, and you can see here, right here, enhance compatibility features. So enabling compatibility features right here. So there are several ways to install advanced server that will allow you to take advantage of compatibility features. And there are two ways of initializing the cluster, and when you use initdb, basically you need to mention include -- redwood like, this option to go with Redwood mode, right? And then the other option is to go with no Redwood compatibility mode. I think this is the mode you want if you want to go with Postgres compatible mode. So remember to select this when you are initializing. Then you don't have to change anything. It just works fine as it works in open source Postgres. So this is something I just wanted to show you in their documentation. So the other thing is, even when you go with another vendor for Postgres like Crunchy Data, that probably you need to check their installation guide, because probably they will have their own initialization attributes which makes Postgres behavior different than open source Postgres. So you need to, in advance, before you install anything, you just need to do your homework to identify what are the new attributes they have introduced, whether you need them or not. and based on that you need to install and initialize your Postgres cluster. Okay, that's it for today, and thanks for watching.